Hello, let's see this question related to Miller indices. So using proper crystallographic notation, identify the crystallographic direction for option A and the crystallographic plane for option B, okay, depicted in the figures below. The crystallographic direction and plane are shown in the cubic unit cell which is given below, okay. So let us first check this. So let us say the direction one first. Okay. So guys, remember for the direction, okay, so we need to see the final point. Okay. So we need to see the coordinate of the final point and subtract it with the initial point. Okay, this is the trick. So you will have a direction, so that will be like the arrow. So you just need to do like this. Okay, you can understand like this. So this is the tip of the arrow. So first mark the coordinate of the tip of the arrow and subtract it with the base of the arrow, or the from where it starts, right? So if you see the tip of this arrow, so it will be like it is cutting in the y direction, right? So we don't need to move here in the x direction, we only need to move in y. Do we need to move in the z? No. So the coordinate here will be O1, O, right? Correct? Now if you see the initial point, then you can see this is my origin, so we need to move half, right, in the x direction. Then in the y direction, do we need to move? No. So half, 0. Then in the z direction we need to move 1, right? So it will be half, 0, 1. Okay. So since we are writing direction, so we should write this square bracket. Okay. So it will be, what is the final point? Final point is 0, 1, 0 minus this half, 0, 1. So let us do this one. So 0 minus half is equal to minus of half. 1 minus 0 is 1. 0 minus 1, that is minus 1. Okay. So now next thing is we need to rationalize this one or convert it into integer. So what we'll do, we will multiply with simply 2, right? So it will be minus 1, 2, minus 2. So what do we need to do? We need to remove this negative sign with bar, right? So we will write 1 bar, 2, 2 bar. Okay. Is it understood? Simple, right? Okay. So first part it is over. Now let us see for the plane one. So plane one, it is slightly interesting. So in the plane, first you need to find the intercept, means how this plane is cutting the axis, right? So like the x axis, y axis and the z axis. So we need to find the intercept, right? So first we'll find the intercept. So you can see this plane is basically such that it is lying on the x axis, right? And if you see it is lying on the x axis, that means one line is directly parallel to the edge, one edge of this plane, right? So it is parallel to one edge of this plane. That means it is not going to cut the x axis, right? You can understand like this. Or in these cases, basically students have confusion that, okay, this is cutting the x axis. I think it is trying to cut the x axis because it is pointing towards the x axis. That means it is cutting somewhere. But no, this x axis is basically parallel to this edge, one edge of this, right? So that means it is not cutting actually. So what we do, we need to shift the origin. So we'll shift where, since here see it has touched the x1, right? Okay. So in the x we will not be able to see tell. In the y direction also if you see, then it is not, we are not be able to see where it is cutting. So the best thing will be to shift in the y direction. Okay, so here it will be new x, your new y, and your new z, right? So you can see now this is your x, and this line or this plane is parallel to this. So what is the intercept? So infinite will be the intercept, right? In the z direction, now you can say what is the intercept? It is in negative side of this y, that is -1. Okay, so always remember that when you need to shift the origins, always shift the origin on the axis which is basically being cut in the negative direction. So how will you identify that it is cutting in the negative direction? That means it is making some angle with the axis, right? Basically it is not the 0-degree angle, it will make some angle between, you can say like 0 to 90 degree, right? 0 to 90 degree, or 0 to, you can say up to like 180 degree, means less than 180 degree. Greater than, you can see like angle, we can say like greater than 0 degree but less than 180 degree, right? So we can understand like this. Okay, so in the y direction it is cutting -1, and in the z direction, so this is our z, so it is cutting the half, right? So it will cut the half of this axis. So after the intercept, we need to do the reciprocal, right? So it will be infinity. So infinity is what? We can write it like 1 by 0. So a reciprocal of this will be 0 by 1. Reciprocal of -1 will be 1 by -1. Then reciprocal of 1 by 2 will be 2 by 1. 2 by 1, right? So now next we need to convert it into integer, right? So in the denominator we have 1 only. So here we do not need to do more work. So we'll just multiply with 1 basically, or we can remove this one. So 0 minus 1, 2 we can write. Fine, clear? So now this is the integer. So now we need to convert it into the Miller plane, right? So we'll write it like 0, 1 bar, 2, and this is plane, so we'll write in this bracket. Okay, so 0, 1 bar, 2. Fine.